Hey guys, good morning and welcome back to What the Heck Do You Do? A weekly show where we highlight unique business owners doing unusual things, things that either maybe are relatively new to the world and so we're trying to get the word out and help them, or they're taking kind of a maybe unique approach to something that you have heard of before. And so we use this format to help bring that to light. This week's sponsors are Seasoned Innovations along with Rich Rhodes, New York Life. If you're interested in becoming a weekly sponsor or if you would like to come on the show, just email me at richrhodes@gmail.com and we can get you booked and talk about it. So what I want to do is introduce this week's guest. Had him on the schedule a couple weeks ago, and then we had to do some shuffling around, so I'm super glad I was able to finally get my hands on him. So I'd like to introduce Richard Moore with Seasoned Innovations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's good to see you.
Definitely.
So Rich and I met. He joined Ignite U, and so we sat at this table. I think that was your first time there.
It's my first time there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the power of riches, we got together, did a one-on-one, and he had a really fascinating story to tell about his business, and I'll get into kind of why I'm excited about what he does. I've had some ideas in the past, and so what he does is of interest to me. So let's dive in and talk about that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Rich, why don't you tell us first and foremost, what the heck do you do?
Yeah. So basically, I'm a website designer as well as a custom web application developer. And most people when they hear it, they're like, "Oh man, that's some long stuff. So what do you really do?" And mainly, my main focus is I just save people time using technology. That's really my whole business, my whole goal or mission, and the whole thing in getting started. I mean, been in the industry for over 23 years as a software engineer. I worked with many different places, different types of applications, built all kind of crazy stuff, you name it. I mean, some things I can't talk about, some things I can. And what it really comes down to is just figuring out what a customer wants, what they need, understanding the process of how they want things to work, and then I'm going to streamline or automate things to make things a lot easier. That cuts costs. Sometimes it cuts jobs. Unfortunately, in some cases it creates jobs. So I always have to walk that fine line depending on who I'm working for as an employer. But what I've learned over the years is that there's a huge need of people that really they have too many uh, applications that they buy off the shelf. You have a lot of programs that you buy, and like, oh, this is the latest grades. This is gonna do this. The latest grades. You see all the beautiful marketing and all that, and it's all nice in a big wrapped up piece of paper. And basically, it's no more than worth a piece of paper because it really can't help you. And then you at a point to where you're trying to figure out how could this benefit me, but I got to spend $100,000, and there's no proof. There's really no one I can contact for a reference. And so for me, I try to make what I do. I make a lot of sense of what's going on. What do you really need? Do you really even need $100,000 product? Sometimes you just need $100 product.
Okay.
It's really that it's really that effective. Some people say that's extreme. I said no, it's not, because you have to grow your business. I mean, who wants to invest so much money up front and then don't see any type of ROI in some form or fashion, and then after a year or two they give up?
Yeah.
And who wants to give up on their passion? I think that's one thing I try to concentrate more on is streamlining and automating the process, giving back people their time so they can concentrate on their business, and that's what they're passionate about.
Gotcha. Okay. So designing solutions. Yeah, I worked for a large organization and even we customized, your basic products that were out there because off the shelf at the end of the day
Yeah.
is designed to hit as many people as possible,
Yeah.
right? But if you're a small business, you have very specific needs.
Oh yeah.
So
All
it
the
sounds
time.
like you build it from the ground up
Right.
so that way the functionality's there that's just what they need.
Exactly. The
Okay.
biggest thing, like from my website side, when I build websites for people, I like to sit down and consult and figure out exactly what they're trying to do. What is your main approach? And then it's the functionality. Because a lot of times I can say, okay, I can build your site, and you're like, oh, it looks great, but I don't know how it works.
Okay.
And then when they have to explain that to someone, well, okay, well, you got to click this to click this, and that's basically too many steps.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be as comfortable with my software or website with me as comfortable as putting on a fresh pair of socks.
Gotcha.
It needs to be that easy
Okay.
and that formative. Uh-huh.
Gotcha. So are you helping, is it helping to create a website where people can place orders or information or reach out to the business? What are some of the functionalities that
Yeah,
you
it's
help
based on the
with?
customer needs. Some people just want to be informative and get the word out, more of a blog approach, or just to be noticeable. Like I want to be on this platform that look professional with the other competitors. Sometimes they want to look a bit more established or more seasoned, so that I help them out in that arena. Other people know I need a full-fledged e-commerce site. I want to be able to take payments, take money, process customers, build up a list of people, a list of customers and clients to keep up with,
Gotcha.
and so forth.
Okay. Cool. So you talked about being in the industry for a long time. So what made you ultimately switch and want to go out on your own?
Well, in my industry right now, I know for most people are starting to kind of understand. You see overall that companies are really cutting back, and we're going to what we call a gig or a temporary assignment type society, where they give you projects that only last X amount of months or X amount of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're done. And so for the traditional, I'm gonna work the 9 to 5, put in the 40 years, and hopefully they give me a gold watch, and I might have some retirement. Those days is like, well, those are far and few between.
Okay.
And so the reality, especially in my industry, is everybody wants to do that because they're trying to cut costs, and everybody's going more to what they call a monthly charge versus the full year you used to pay you the 15,000 up front. Now you can do the monthly, you can a la carte it, and that's where the industry is going. So involved in that, you have to realize is that for me, what people like me in my field are starting to understand is that we need to get specialized skills or the skills we do have to advertise those to a company and to help them streamline their process or help. And then of course we make money, but at the same time we're cutting their costs, and so they're not hiring us full time as dealing with benefits and insurances and all those other things and dealing with a regular employee. So,
Gotcha. Okay. So what's the typical sort of employer size in terms of like the number of employees that you work with? Like, are you working with a lot of sole proprietors? Are you working with like 50-person businesses? Help me
right.
understand maybe.
My demographic is pretty wide. I mean, it's anywhere from 1 to 1,000
Okay.
employees. I have that much capability, myself. Everything outside that, then I have to have help. And of course, I've got a chance to meet people, and I can subcontract work to them to help me grow it, just to get the deal and keep people organized as well. So they don't have to be, well, I got to go to you for this and you this and you this. They can come to me and then let me farm it out and help them manage it for them. So in
Okay.
other words, I can be the direct IT link, and then I can either project manage the project as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So, do you provide ongoing support once the solution's built, or is it you build the solution, you leave them with it, and then you kind of move on to the
Oh,
next project?
oh, definitely, definitely. I have to provide that support because that's the biggest thing. I mean, and it's just a pet peeve of me too. I hate when you buy a product and you use it, or somebody build a product for you and say, "Well, here you go, good luck." And we all know that that's not going to work like that forever.
Yeah.
And then you're upset. You're like, man, I hate that guy. Why did he give me this crap? And then you're upset. You're trying to find out who can help you. And then 9 times out of 10, like in my situation, I've actually come in different companies and they say, okay, I have a product that does X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get it to do the same similar things? And we can eliminate it because we hate that product. You just write something totally new.
Okay.
And so a lot of times I just trace pretty much the process of how it works. It's
Sure.
all about the process, and then I automate some things to make it easier, so they can get the other bells and whistles that they prefer.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, as a former process improvement professional, I certainly my ears always perk up when I hear process because
Oh,
yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? It's not about I just want a tool. It's like no, you're trying to accomplish something,
right.
and there are steps to accomplish it,
Oh yeah.
and we want to find the most streamlined way to do that, so that way we can automate it. So,
hmm
no, that's awesome. So, talk to us a little bit about the name and how that came to be. How'd you, or first of all, how long have you been under Seasoned Innovations? When did you
I've been
branch out on?
officially actually on about a little over 3 years,
Okay.
and this past month, well, actually this past June of this year, of 2019, I finally started really pushing it forward a little stronger. Been laid off, and I keep noticing that again the trend is that everybody's trying to cut down to where they can get you project based and get you in and get you out,
Mm-hmm.
and then they call you as needed. And so I like, well, if that's the case, I might as well pick up some clients I can fully support
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect, and then also develop products for their needs, and also just not for their particular need. There's other people in the world that need the same thing. So now I can serve two people at the same time, or two types of people at the same time.
Okay, so you design a solution that works, and then other people in the industry now you have something that
hmm
you've solved the problem, and to whatever extent they're
Right.
in a similar arrangement or can use the same tool, now you have something
Yeah. Yeah.
sort of repeatable.
hmm
Okay, I like that. Nice.
Sometimes a couple tweaks here and there, but most of them is generally the same.
Sure.
hmm
So Seasoned Innovations, where did that name come from?
That name came from my father, we talked one time. He always talked about how when you get older, you're going to be seasoned one of these days, and you got to live to get old. That's what it's all about. You're young now, but this country ain't no getting old. You just keep living. He always would tease me about that.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, I need to come up with something unique. And then being innovative, I've always liked the name would determine what it really stands for. It's always changes, something improving to make people's lives better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to put those two together.
I like
Yeah,
it.
just brainstorming, and I was like, I take a little bit from Dad and a little bit of myself and put it in.
All right.
Hmm.
So we're not getting older. We're just getting seasoned.
That's it.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
With age comes wisdom, right? So,
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, talk to me about just the importance of having a mobile application, regardless of your business. Why is it important to sort of have a mobile presence, have that web presence?
Okay. Well, based on numbers and figures, I mean, and don't quote me exactly, but with definitely just being in the industry, and you can back this up with Google. A lot of what's happening now in the industry is everybody's going to a mobile framework. We use mobile phones just to pay bills and just basically live our life, our lifestyle from this reminders, appointments, meetings such as this, interviews and such. And so when you go into that type of aspect, then you need to figure out how can I get into that medium? Where do I belong in there?
Sure.
I don't want to be left behind. And so 90% of all applications that are out there now is going to have to be mobile and eventually 100.
Mm-hmm.
And right now the industry is around 40-50%. It's getting higher and higher because more people are owning cell phones versus desktops or laptop computers and tablets. So everything has to be pointing to that arena anyway, and all the big companies are forcing everyone to go that way as well. The Google, your Amazons, your Microsofts, and so forth, and
Okay.
Facebook. So
Gotcha. So mobile first.
it's mobile first.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. So with my prior employer, we were getting feedback that basically we're saying like we couldn't get the best candidates because you couldn't apply for like the contact center entry level jobs. You couldn't apply on the phone. And so people, regardless of the stature of the company or the pay or the benefits or all those good things that we think employers think are important, we literally weren't getting the best people because they said, well, I can't apply on my phone.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm out. Like,
one of the things you have to realize too, Rich, is that right now, definitely, and just to add to that, right now in the industry, you have to look at the demographics of the millennials. The biggest demographic all right now, and then a lot of the baby boomers, and then we're in the middle. We have X and Y, whatever number they make up, but we're like in the middle of that. And so what's happening, the millennials, and as along to us as well, is that we prefer to do mobile, and it's like, why not make that easier? If I can do mobile, then I can cut out dealing with HR and fill out applications. It streamlines their process, and we can get things more organized. Now, when they interview, they can actually look for the clients and so forth. I don't have to resend you resumes. I don't have to email you a bunch of documentation. It's like it's all online, and it's
Sure.
a simple send. And
gotcha.
then you have my information. There's no question of, well, did he really send it in? Let's check and see. Let's see, did it get the mail? So all these things that usually cut costs a lot, now they actually cut costs, which also streamlines the employee's process of hiring. So now they don't have to spend $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 to market that particular job description to pick up a client or a suitable client they think they might want.
Okay.
Because generally it costs $12,000 to $15,000. That's just to hire somebody. It's probably a little higher now.
Right.
But when you're trying to advertise, the advertising, the interviewing process, and going through the candidates and make an offer, it's usually around 12 to 15 grand.
Right.
But now you can cut that down to maybe, by using a mobile, you can cut that down to maybe 8 or 9, even more than that.
Right.
Just depends on how ingenious and how straightforward you want things to be.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So when you design a website for a company or web application, is it designed for mobile, but it also works on a computer, or are those two separate things? Help us understand how that works.
Right. So no, I build it right now with all the technology. Eventually, we all going to mobile, and what's happening is that with a website, you just make it mobile, what they call mobile friendly or mobile ready, and all it does is just takes your regular website that would go on the desktop, and it cuts down the size, it readjusts the sizes automatically. So what I tell clients is that when you ask somebody to build you a mobile app, just kind of figure out exactly what you want it to do, because most of the time they're building your website, and that way you don't have to worry about the Android and iOS. And please, geeks, don't get mad at me about that, but what it's really coming down to, it needs to be universal. You know, it's great to have an iPhone, but if I want an Android application I can't use, that's frustrating, and vice versa. So you need to make it flexible or compatible with both environments.
Okay.
And when you're in business or when you're selling yourself, you don't need that headache. You need it to work on everybody's system. That's what you're mainly focused on.
Gotcha.
And so they all coincide. And so nowadays, when I build websites for clients, I build them that way. So it's already mobile ready, and they can pull it up on any device. So they don't have to worry about what version of an iPhone or what version of Android they have.
Okay.
Hmm.
So it's ultimately a mobile website. It functions very similar to an app in that
Hmm.
it's stripped down. The buttons are easy to find
Oh
and
yeah,
do the functionality that you need,
right.
but
Because you
without dealing with the store and
exactly
okay.
you can tweak it to where certain amount of buttons display at certain points on a mobile side when they go
Hmm.
to a phone versus the desktop.
Right.
You can hide features, select features to make it streamline, make it run faster. So
Okay.
it's a lot of different varieties you can have, or variables you can adjust in that environment.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, the best apps are the one where you pull them up, right, and it's pretty straightforward, right?
There you go.
I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I want to do that,
Oh
and clicking
yeah,
that button is obvious, and it just steps you through the process.
yes.
Versus pulling up a full website that's just been shrunk and is smaller, and you're scrolling and trying to zoom in and click on a link. I
Oh,
have to
I
do
hate
that with
that
my
too.
internal
Yeah,
intranet site if I'm working on my phone. Yeah, you have to like scroll, make it big enough so your finger can hit the right link
yeah,
and stuff. So
exactly.
making it mobile friendly. So what I want to ask you about next is, so I'm somebody I've had ideas for apps
Hmm.
where really the app or the mobile website kind of is the business. Like
Hmm.
it sort of started there.
Hmm.
So talk about that process. What if somebody's like, oh, I have this great idea for an app or a
Hmm.
mobile website that I want to do this and do that. Can you kind of start there versus having a business and then adding the mobile to it?
Right, you can do either one. I prefer if you just want to do an app, sit down with yourself and just write down simple sentences. Don't worry about the technical jargon. Don't worry about that. That's what I do. I take care of that. People like myself. What you do, you sit down and you say, okay, I want to do A, B, C. I want it to look like A or B and C. Write out your flow of how you think you might want it to work, and then stop. And then come talk to me. And that's when I will sit down your process and what do you want to do? We will lay it out of your actions. When you see this, it does this. It's all about conditionals. When you do this, it does this, this. And so from that point, once we lay that out, lay out your structure, then I build it, and then I build you a prototype. And then you look at it and say, oh, okay, this is just think this is what I want to do, and then we go from there. And then of course I provide ongoing support. But I tell anyone initially, when you want to build out an application, write down all your ideas of what you think and brainstorm what you want it to do, and then concise it down to like a summary, and then present. Because from that point, from a developer standpoint, we're like, oh, okay, we've understood most of the things you really got. These one, two, three things you really wanted to do. And these other things can be like bells and whistles. So let's get the functionality down, and then we'll add those accordingly. And that's the process. That's it. It's no simpler than building of any type of software package. You have to define the requirements, and that's what we call it user requirements. But as you like, okay, I just want this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
So let's write it down. Okay, I want to do this, and this. Is this possible?
gotcha.
And I say write down the core things you want on one side of a sheet of paper, and on the other side write down your possibilities of what you wanted of bells and whistles, and then you list them and you present, and it makes it a lot easier on both sides. Because then you start thinking, oh, well that'd be cool. Why don't I do this? And then you might change your mind along the way. But getting your core ideas of what you wanted to do or perform is the main thing, and then go from there.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm picturing a recent idea I had and trying to put it in. And so the idea that I had was I play a lot of softball,
Hmm.
and there's a Facebook group where people buy, sell, and trade bats, and they put them out
Right.
there. Other equipment too, but
Hmm.
primarily bats, right? And then unfortunately, there's also a separate Facebook group called NGTG, which is not good to go. So when one of those deals falls apart, then they
Yeah.
have to unfortunately publicly shame somebody because they literally
Yeah.
stole their money without delivering the product or
Oh
delivered a
yeah.
defective product. And my idea was like, what if there was like a platform for trading where there was some sort of escrow type
Hmm.
where you put in the bet and someone else puts in the money, and then the third party can say, okay, we have the money, it's okay to release the bet, and then once the
Hmm.
bet arrives, then you can deliver the money and that type of thing. It seemed like there was an opportunity there to sort of protect that process a little bit. And I know like PayPal and eBay and they can do some of that stuff, but this is so
Yeah.
specific and it's such an informal current method for doing it. And so what if I'm hearing you say, it's sort of like, okay, the primary thing you want to do is be able to like escrow a BAT transaction.
Right.
So start with that.
Start with that.
What are those steps? You know,
Right.
person A has BAT to sell, wants to post it.
Exactly.
Person B likes BAT and
Yeah.
wants to buy it. And then from there, get into three-way trades or whatever, like the sub, you know, there might need to be like a, you know, contact us for problems or, so start with that main big process. And then as you flesh that out, then get into some of the smaller processes is kind of what I'm hearing. And
Yeah.
the sub processes that support
So that's it.
the main thing you're doing.
Because I will tell you this: the biggest secret a lot of people don't understand as developers. You know, we have people like, why? How they get these bright ideas? It's we don't get so many bright ideas a lot of times. It's because we talk to people like yourself. You have the ideas. You have the $1,000,000 or the $1,000 or the $1 billion idea in your head. It's that when you pass it on to me, that idea of laying out the components in it, I'm just the instrument to help build it. That's
Yeah.
all I am. I'm just an instrument. So you have the idea and the focus of how you want it to do. And when you build those core concepts and you lay that structure out, it's easy to add to it. But it's
Yeah.
just getting the core thing done. That's the main thing. That's what I mean by the functionality, because you want that to work. It's like when we go to Craigslist, we know we look up Craigslist, we can search, we know we can search and find people right there. That part works.
Yeah.
And when you start dealing with money, and that can get a little hairy, but the
Okay.
main thing we know, we go to that site, we know we type in wherever area you're in, we're going to pull it up, and it's going to show it ads, a bunch of people related to whatever I looked up. So
Gotcha. I wish I would have mentioned 10 years ago. I've had more ideas for apps and stuff that I've already forgotten that I can't even remember that. I remember 5-6 years ago posting on Facebook like, do I know anybody? Is somebody in my group like able to make an app or a website? Like I have this idea and I just have no idea how to do it, which is embarrassing because I was a computer science major, but I was
Well,
a terrible programmer. So
it just depends, man. It's like sometimes it's a time thing. Sometimes it's just, and you know me now. So like I said, I'd be glad to, more than happy to help you build all those ideas and then some. It's that you just have to really concentrate on your core needs, what you want, and then it's a timing. So you never know when you meet people. Sometimes it's hard to meet people that actually will take the time out, because I will be honest with you, most people in my industry, we kind of doing our own thing and say, yeah, I don't have time for that. I don't think that'll work. And we can get a little egotistical sometimes, and then we miss out because then we see somebody like Facebook and like, man, that, and it's like, no, that person took time out to talk to people and work with them, and that's really what it is.
Gotcha. So I don't want to make you quote a specific price, but like just if somebody has sort of an idea, so I understand, yeah, if somebody has a business and they need to support it with web, right, they should want to reach out to you. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But if somebody's maybe sitting on a crazy idea that just might work, like what are we talking about to go from idea to prototype? Just ballpark, just something to make people think like, oh, you know what, that's too much for me, or that just might work. I'm willing to try it.
Right. Yeah. Normally I start at $500, and a lot of people think that's nuts. Why are you charging so low? I said, well, you might not need anything more than $500 worth of work. I mean, if it's something you say, hey, I'm processing things, and depending on how complex you want it to be, you don't need it. If you're taking a payment, it's not that much more to add to the application. I mean, I could exaggerate it to the point, but then there's a thing called, for me, it's just that I have a fine line, or I have a moral value. That's one thing for me. And it's like, no, I don't have to gouge you because you're just one customer.
Right.
You know, you're not the only person in the world I'm going to serve. So at least I pray I ain't. So the thing is, I got to survive. So the thing is that I always try to tell people, I said, look, lay down, set a budget aside. I start out at $500, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
If you want more complexity, then of course that would cost. But most of the time, $500 usually get most things done out there, because as you got to understand, I'm competing with international competitors as well as regular competitors. In that, the thing is, the international competitor might charge a little cheaper, but by the time you get through talking to them, you're going to pay double and triple what I'm offering.
Sure.
And then you got to deal with support, because they might not be on call and so forth. So being locally as well as here is that it makes it a lot easier to deal with. And so, again, I'm all about streamlining those processes to make it easier.
Gotcha.
Not just for you, but also for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. You got a crazy idea and you just want to see what might happen. $500 will at least get you a prototype or get you something to look at to say like, oh, you know what? I was wrong and this isn't going to work. Or you know what? Yeah, I think we might have something here. Let's go and try. And I do think that's important because that to me is just about the right amount of money where I would be like, you know what? Yeah, I could roll the dice because this thing can make me a ton of money
Yeah.
or it can make me none.
Hmm.
But that to me that's a fair price to find out, versus finding out it's $3,000 and $4,000. It's like I don't even know if this will work. I don't even know how passionate I am about it. But I would just love to see it like literally on a phone so that I can tell like maybe I'm onto something. So I think to me that's a fair price. And if I had with my next crazy idea, I feel like $500 that's a fair start to see if we're on to something.
Thank you.
So if somebody has their business or they have a crazy idea they just want to try, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Oh, please, you can contact me. First of all, phone number is 360-340-5686. Sometimes I forget my own number.
We've got it on the
it's
scroll too. I
hilarious.
just want to make sure that
Yeah.
the preference for you. So
The
okay.
phone number is definitely, I can direct call. If I do miss your call, please leave a message. Don't think I'm ignoring you. It's just that I might be in the end of a meeting or so forth, other meetings. And I will get back with you as soon as possible for sure. Also, the next best thing is email, rich@seasoninnovations.com.
Okay.
That's also a good connection as well. You can reach me there. But definitely the phone call. You can't beat the phone
Okay.
with me. I'm one of those old school. I will take your phone call and we will talk.
All right. So give you a call and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. And then you'll give them the initial steps, it sounds like, to work on before your first in-person consultation, right?
Yes.
So that sounds good. I should be able to help you. Here's what I need. Go work on this and this. And we'll set up a time to meet in person and then do some consulting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, this was fun.
Definitely.
Yeah,
man.
no,
enjoyed it.
I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we're able to do this. Like I said, I mean, this is a space where my brain has been floating for a while, and I've been looking for that app guy, somebody that can make me something. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad we had a chance to meet, and so for everyone else out there, again, if you have no online presence, it's 2019 and you need one. And then certainly, if you've got that crazy idea that you think you just might want to try, then to me that's a fair and relatively low barrier of entry to see if something's there. So thanks again, Rich, for coming on. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. We appreciate you. If you want to tune in next week, it is Halloween, but we're going to be here anyway. Maybe dressed up, maybe not. We'll see. But Angela Probst with Young Living will be here. So thank you guys all for listening and keep chasing your dreams.